Hello everyone, it is your favorite man-made disaster, Keki here, and Art Fight 2026 has finally come to a close. Not to get too retrospectively sentimental here, but every time I participate in Art Fight, it really genuinely makes me smile with how clear my improvement is year to year. I think that's what ultimately gets me coming back to this art game year after year, unlike Inktober, not just because it's an excuse to talk about my OCs like an absolute shill. But anyway, now that the month has ended and Art Fight is officially over, I figured I'd take a page out of my own book and make a follow-up video to share with you what I was able to learn this month, as well as spotlighting a few OCs again. But before all of that, I want to say my annual thank you to everyone who attacked my characters this year. There were so many of you that I genuinely could not keep up, and now my battle ratio is actually atrocious, but that's something I kind of expected, so I'm not really too hung up about it. But in all seriousness, you guys never cease to amaze me, so like last year, I'll try to show some of my favorite defenses at the end of the video. So let's talk about goals. This year, my goals stayed pretty much the same as last year's. I did end up beating my previously held attack record, and I was on track to finally completing my number one goal of attacking someone once a day, but midway through the month, I fell violently ill and was out of commission for an entire week. It really sucked in the moment, and honestly, it still does kind of suck, but I probably would have fallen behind anyway, even if I hadn't gotten sick, since I was so busy during this month. Because of that, I didn't get to attack everyone I had on my list, which is a huge bummer, but it is what it is. However, just because Art Fight is over does not mean I have to stop drawing people's OCs. That is the beauty of this. So, in true Keki fashion, I'll do it later. Anyway, this year I wanted to focus more on backgrounds since I'm not too good at them. I've been improving them this past year, but I wanted to push myself even further since if I don't draw them, I won't learn. Most were simple execution-wise and featured some more AFMAO OCs, so why don't we take a look at those attacks while I tell you more about them? The first OC we have on our list today is Friendly Fire. This is Brahms by Marcel12 on Art Fight. Unlike most AFMAO OCs I've seen circling around, Brahms doesn't seem to have any connection with the main cast at all. According to Marcel, Brahms transferred to Phoenix Drop High due to domestic circumstances. Having been suddenly thrust into an unfamiliar place with no one familiar to rely on except for his mom, Brahms had a hard time meeting people at first. He does eventually, but never feels like he can truly let loose unless he's with his family or by himself. Something I find really intriguing about Brahms' description is that he and the kids on his street that he's forced to open up to are subject to like a murder or something, which is crazy. Marcel also used the murder on our street line, and it gave me such a tonal whiplash I was dying laughing. Because my street, yeah, funny, I guess. It's so dumb. The premise is unlike anything I've ever seen for an AFMAO OC, and I really hope Marcel is open to expanding on Brahms and his group's lore. Some things Marcel says that Brahms loves are music, sweets, and history, and all of this is really detailed, so if you want to see the full extent of Brahms' character bio, links to Marcel's Art Fight will be in the description with everyone else's. For his pose, I really wanted to highlight the hyperactivity Marcel says he displays, so putting him in a funky perspective seemed like a good start. I don't know where the idea for basketball came from for him, but it suits his energetic personality, so it feels like a good fit. I've been getting better with perspective recently, so most of the trouble was spent trying to get Brahms to actually look like his reference image. I've never really had an issue with these kinds of things before, but his hair was so hard for me to get right the first time. I eventually got it, and I think the drawing turned out so good. So all in all, I am happy with the results. Our next AFMAO OC is Yua, a sweet and loving Mifwa who seems a bit clumsy to most, and although she may seem that way, Anon has actually paired her with Ian. Yua seems to be the obsessive type, clinging to people that she chooses due to her loneliness, and happens to cling to Ian during the events of the second season of Phoenix Drop High. The two meet when Ian saves Yua from a group of bullies, and Yua has been smitten with him ever since. Of course, Ian's gesture was only to show off to AFMAO, but after he finds out how useful Yua could be to him, they start a secret secret relationship with Yua acting as Ian's spy. It's super toxic and totally bonkers, but worse things have happened in the Aphmau universe, so, we're just gonna ignore that for now. Because Aphmau is the object of Ian's obsession, Yua is very jealous of her, turning to stalking Aphmau and her friends for Ian before the events of Season 4 take place. For this attack, I wanted to show more of Yua's unhinged side, her focus solely on Aphmau as she collects information for Ian. I toned up her creepy vibes by keeping her posture straight and her eyes devoid of shines. I originally wanted to shadow her entire face so that all you could see was her eyes, but doing that did not look as good as I thought it would, so we're only gonna shade the top of her face for this instance. Her eyes are the most striking part of her design since the rest of her colors are pretty pale in value, so having them stand out from the shadows by not highlighting the eyelashes helped the irises really pop. I also put her in the Season 2 uniform even though her reference sheet didn't have her uniform design. I wanted all of the attacks to take place in or around the high school, so that meant taking the characters and sticking them in uniforms even if they didn't have one in their official reference sheets. I honestly adore how this one turned out, and it gives off just the right amount of creepy for Yua's character. The next OC is Tina by Haunted Ground. Tina is a skittish but outspoken character that's seen throughout all the seasons of My Street with the exception of Season 4. She's the middle child of her family and is seen as kind of the glue that holds her and her two other siblings together by staying optimistic and kind. Throughout her years at Phoenix Drop, Tina developed crushes on quite a few people, but one canon character seems to have unrequited feelings for her in turn. I'm talking about Travis. Val does mention that he keeps Travis's crush on Caitlin from canon, but the guy is greedy and likes both Caitlin and Tina simultaneously, which really fits his My Street characterization, so I'm not too pressed about it. After high school, Tina splits up from the core cast and pursues a career as a flight attendant, not meeting up with the rest of the group until My Street proper, and in Val's own words, a comical reunion ensues. For this attack, I wanted to focus on a specific scenario that Val had expanded on in Tina's description, where Travis tries to give Tina a letter for Valentine's Day, but it ended up not working out due to shenanigans, I guess. In the same vein as the other attacks I did, keeping the characters as close to their reference sheets as possible was proving to be a really big challenge for me, specifically hair, because yeah, you'll see this theme again in the next segment, so okay. It ended up working out, so I'm choosing not to think about it too hard, but it's still in the back of my mind. Personally, I do think this composition is a bit on the lazy side in comparison to the other ones I did, but I was in a bit of a rush that day, so we're also filing that complaint into the not going to think too hard about it bin. I am proud of that water fountain, though. It's a good-looking water fountain. Anyway, I'd like to think my attack is the quote-unquote good ending for the scenario it's based on, even if Tina still doesn't believe Travis is being serious when he attempts to flirt with her. Wacky Hijinks is the name of the game when it comes to Aphmau's many universes, and these two seem to be no exception. All in all, I really like how the finished product turned out, and Val likes it too, so that is really all that matters. The last character on our list is Spot by a mutual of mine, Casper. Spot, according to Casper, is an extremely blunt and socially anxious werewolf who has a hard time conceding on anything they say even when they might be wrong. Any criticism towards them is taken pretty personally, but most of the time they're pretty polite. The canon character they're paired with is Vlad, having known him at least since they were in high school before starting to date. When that happens, I am not so sure, but maybe Casper will expand their lore at a later date. Spot was apparently homeschooled for their entire life up until the start of their freshman year and is kind of behind academically speaking, so Vlad offers to help them study after hearing they were close to getting held back a grade. Taking that inspiration, I thought my attack could center around one of their many study sessions, with Spot being less than enthusiastic about the idea. I remember trying a bunch of different compositions for this drawing, but I was having a really hard time with perspective, what a shocker, so I just gave up. Look, kids, if something's not working out, don't be afraid to start over. I saw it through and it was ugly, so I changed it. And, of course, the second try came out much better. So all in all, freaking great, I guess. Spot's hair coloring was interesting because I wasn't really sure what was happening with the red tips. I could kinda assume that they were outgrown bleached tips, but I decided to stay simple and not blur the bleached edges since when I tried it, it looked bad, so... The only other thing I want to mention is that it's been a while since I've drawn Vlad, the last time being for a commission, so I ended up really fighting for my life when it came to drawing his hair. I cannot really explain why, but I remember taking like 5 breaks just because I was getting so frustrated. I don't know why that's like a theme with these attacks, why hair has been such a brutal part of the drawing process, but I don't know. It's over now, so I'm okay with it. Whatever, the piece turned out so fine in the end, so I can't really be mad when I like the final piece, so yeah, whatever. And that was our last OC. As I said, I did end up beating my attack record, and while I'd love to go over all of the attacks I did this month, you'll have to settle for the weekly recaps I've been posting on my Shorts tab and my TikTok page. So, finally, what did we learn this month? I feel like I could have reached my goal of an attack a day if I didn't have the literal plague descend upon me like a little Victorian child, but I guess we won't know until next year. The attacks I was able to get through are honestly some of my favorite recent pieces I've drawn. I've of course been drawing this month, not just for Art Fight, but something about these drawings makes me come back to them and smile. I think I've improved a lot background-wise, which is always a personal goal of mine, and overall this month was so much fun. Thank you all again for the art you guys have been sending my way this year. Over 100 attacks have been sent my way, and I cannot be more grateful that so many of you guys took the time to draw and get invested in my characters and how absolutely destroyed my attack ratio is. But anyway, I don't care. It is the biggest blessing I could ever ask for it. Thank you guys so much. So, without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye!